Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about something that I think doesn't get enough airtime, validation. So it might sound a little vague, validation. You might think of acknowledgement, but it's actually this really practical set of tools that make life less stressful and make your conversations more powerful. So it's going to take about 7 minutes, but I want to give you a quick overview before we practice this skill. And I think you'll be able to use it right away. Did not work. Okay, let's see. So let me ask you a quick question. When life gets hard and you get some bad news or you feel stuck, what do you usually want the most? There's this kind of expression, do you want to be hugged, helped, or heard? So raise your hand if you want to be hugged. It's me sometimes. How about helped? No. Heard. Yes, yes, yes. So most of us, we want to be heard. But we're all pretty quick to try to jump in and help the person in concrete ways. So part of validating is to learn how to pause and really give people and ourselves what we need the most, which is being heard. So how this came about is my partner Ken and I went to see a couples counselor 14 years ago, and I was really mesmerized by the counselor Barb because she made both of us feel really heard. Just like Carolyn Fleck talks about in her book, Barb validated Ken and I by showing us that she was present, she got it, and she cared. Notice I didn't say she agreed with us or she tried to fix us, because validation is just about being present, understanding where someone's coming from, and showing that you care. So I really envied her skill, and I'm not kidding, even though I'd been part of co-counseling for many years. I didn't know that it was a learnable skill. But because of Carolyn Fleck's book, Validation, and the 8 validation skills, now I know it's something that you can practice every day. So there are 3 main rules to keep in mind as we practice today. You only validate what's valid. So look for the truth in what someone's saying, and there's no need to validate something that you think is off your reality map. 2, validation doesn't mean you agree. You can understand what someone's frustration without agreeing with their opinion. So third, first you validate, problem solve later. So take that off the shelf. That's a big one. Just try to slow down and start with listening instead of fixing. And for the record, validation doesn't mean praise or approval. That's how we often use it. Oh, I got, really validated their presentation. Finally, you only validate someone to the degree that you can do so authentically. There is no need to stretch something to validate something you don't think is legitimate. So only what you can do authentically. So validation is important because people are more open when they feel heard. So if you want to influence someone um, and get them to actually listen to you, then you need to validate them first. Second, it builds trust. Trust is everything when it comes to relationships. Third, validating yourself makes life better. And lastly, people feel safe talking to you when you validate them. So there's a whole lot of steps here in Carolyn Fleck's validation ladder. She uses the letters of accepted, and there are 8 validation steps. But we're going to start with just the first 4 foundational ones, which you could start using right away. So if you can see them at the top of the list, attending, which just means showing up, copying, contextualizing, and equalizing. There's some powerful ones at the bottom, and we'll touch on them, but just doing the first 4 is really important. So walking through them, showing that you're present, eye contact, leaning in, nodding, that kind of thing. Copying. We often hear about copying, and therapists get really good at like repeating the phrases people say, their pace of speech, things like that. Third, contextualize. And that means help make their feelings make sense. Of course, you're frustrated after months of being sick. Of course, like you think about the larger context, which people lose track of. And then equalize is anyone in your shoes would feel the same. And Carolyn Fleck says that she also has the Caroline qualifier, which is, and honestly, you're handling it better than most. So people like to be unique. All right, so what does that look like? When we go off to practice in the small groups today, you're going to practice those skills. So choose you'll be in groups of 3 or 4. Choose one person to say something that they want to be validated about, and person B, the person who's going to validate them using those skills I just talked about. So person A might say, I've been in a job search for 10 months. Person B would say, oh, you know, okay, how's that going? So might say 10 months, might say rip back something. So, and then person A can say, I feel sort of validated, a lot of validated. I'm, most of you know I'm a big fan of radical candor. So care personally, challenge directly. We're all here to learn. So if you don't feel that validated, just show it on your thumb that you don't feel that validated. Okay, so first round, maybe everyone gets a chance to be A and B. And then if you still have room, we're going to do like 12 minutes in the small group in the first round. Then you can move on to the next step. And those next steps are propose, take action, emote, and disclose. So propose is sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed. They haven't said that, but you go a little bit deeper and you kind of do some mind reading. Like it sounds like you wish they had remembered your birthday is today, something like that. Take action means do something. People feel validated when you do something. Hey, can I take a photo of your special moment? Duh, they feel validated. Emote. Ah, no, you didn't get that job after a whole month of working so hard. Ah. So show some feelings. It can be a little acting. That's just fine. That must have been hard. So, and then disclose, oh, I've so been there. And you don't want to take up the space. You don't want to tell about your own, cat that got thrown down the dumpster chute or whatever happened. You want to stick with their story. But it can be powerful to say, yep, I have also had that hard thing happen to me. All right. So in the small group, person A will share a real challenge, something that's genuinely bothering them. Person B will listen and use those foundational skills that we talked about. Remember that the steps are accepted. So attend, copy, contextualize, and equalize. And they don't roll off the tongue, but remember those foundational things. And then if you can, seems like possible, add one of those further skills, kind of advanced skills. So, and then at the end, they can say, do they feel validated? And I like this picture because these are real reactions of people when they heard that there were young people in schools acting like animals and pretending that they were cats. So I think it's funny. Okay, so validating yourself is also really important. So most of us have a really harsh inner critic. I should be further along. What's wrong with me? Does that sound familiar? Okay, most people. That's normal. We often beat ourselves up for having those voices. So instead, we can validate ourselves. Notice the feeling, name it, contextualize, normalize. If you can validate yourself, then when you get rejected or life gets hard, you've got a stronger muscle, a stronger safety net to be kind to yourself the way you would be to a friend, and you can bounce back quicker. So if you want to think of a recent disappointment, and then think, oh, you know, okay, yeah, I felt a little disappointed. And then it makes sense given the context. Anybody in those situation would think of that. Okay, so I'm obviously keeping this really short. So uh, the 3 big ideas: validate first, solve second. Really important to validate yourself. Let's say nobody thinks your validations is good. You say, I'm doing the best I can. I'm just new to this skill. Or I'm having a hard time, whatever, I haven't had my coffee, whatever your deal is. And then the last one, people connect before they listen. So connect before you, uh, as we saying correct, but before, people are more open to correction. If like, please turn down the music. If you say, oh, wow, I really like your shorts. Oh, and by the way, can you turn down the music? So these skills aren't just nice, they're strategic for making life go better. So your struggles are real, your feelings are real, you're doing better than you think. Stuff is hard, but you can offer yourself and others grace and be resilient. The more resilience and connection that you build through validation. So I'll pretend like I say, will someone read this quote? The human soul doesn't want to be advised or fixed or saved. It simply wants to be witnessed, to be seen, heard, and championed exactly as it is, by Parker Palmer. All right. So if you like something about what I said, feel free to put that in the chat. I will read it later, but that is the end of my presentation. Did you see all the slides?
Yes, I did. Very nice.
Yay!
Very, very nice. Yes. I
So
like
yes, that was much longer than I thought, but it ends up being 10 minutes. I may just skip over the self-validation thing because it's not really what we're focusing on. So,
but that was good too. That was
okay.
good too.
I'll just
Um,
say, go ahead.
it didn't seem like 10 minutes, so why not keep it at 10?
Because we only have 50 minutes.